Well, Mike, I know it's difficult to talk about. I don't know if you were done talking about Kayla. Certainly, please do share any more you'd like to. If not, I think this is a good time to transition into some general patterns about what's going on in South Africa and related to the rest of the European world, because there still may be some people that say, all right, look, there's horrible things going on, but there are bad people everywhere. They still might not connect it to wider patterns. So I'd like to get into that. But first, do you have anything more to say about Kayla? Clear. Well, as I was saying, why don't we connect some dots now more for the audience and talk about what it is about South Africa. If you can paint a little bit of a picture about the white history there and what has led to this moment and patterns that exist there that we also see echoed in all the Western world. So we can take some warning from this, and I think that will motivate people because, to be frank, as is human nature, I think that there are sensitive souls like you out there who respond to stories like this. But let's face it, more people are going to perk up their ears if they understand that this is a warning, this is a pattern that is going to happen in other places as well. So why don't we start with a little bit just about South Africa, and then we could talk about the wider Western world. I had some thoughts on that, but I'd like to get all of yours first.
Yes, thank you, Jared. The whites, well, South Africa obviously is sort of two different, I guess, groups of white people there. I mean, obviously you've got the Boer, the Boer people who obviously are of Dutch descent, who came in the 1600s. They arrived on the Cape, down near Cape Town, which is a point for another stream, perhaps. There's some activity happening down in Cape Town area, which is relevant to what we're discussing. And then, of course, you have the English-speaking populace when the British came and colonized South Africa as well. So, and obviously we had the some of these people who are living on these farms in South Africa have been there for that many years. It's intergenerational farming. They have had this land for so long that their government is now trying to take off them. They have worked this land. They are excellent farmers. And what I don't think a lot of people don't fathom is, without your farmers, you have no food. You have no lifeblood in your country. So if you wipe out your farmers, if you wipe out the Afrikaners who are farming, or you push them to Australia, to America, to Russia were talking about taking 15,000 of these people last year. I don't know how that endeavor is progressing. You cripple your country, literally. Without food, your country cannot survive. And there's a lot of things going on in the background in South Africa with the government and with certain political parties who are actively working against the white people. They are saying that, we have to fight against the whites, and et cetera, et cetera. They are encouraging people to take up arms against the farmers. Effectively, without directly doing so, they are encouraging the farm attacks and the farm murders. And it's called, as people, and I would encourage people to go and watch Farmlands by Lauren Southern, which we haven't had time to mention on this stream yet. She shows so much about what the white people are having to do for themselves there, because they don't have the support of the government to back themselves. They have to look after each other. They have, two-way radios. They have networks amongst the local farmers, and they are coordinating and networking their own defense strategies because they are trying to survive. And the thing that's important to remember is, when we come into the other parts of Western civilization, like Australia, America, Europe, there is a push on immigration in these countries. We don't have it quite so bad down here because we are blessed to be on a massively large island with lots of desert. But we have we have had problems with immigration in the past, and the white population in Australia is on the decline. In fact, as a matter of accuracy, the Australian Bureau of Statistics last year released a figure which said that the rate of immigration in this country that I am living in outweighed our birth rate for the first time last year. And we have an aging population in Australia. A lot of our population is quite old. So which leads to other things with religion and our cultural identity as Australians is being radically changed down here as we move forward. And we have to be very careful because we can't lose the essence of what makes us Aussies, because we're a very patriotic country, but we have a very strong kinship with each other as Western people in Australia. You've probably heard of things like mateship and statements like that. You will look after our mates, and that's certainly very true. And if you have these rogue elements coming to England or France or Germany, Canada, America, Australia, New Zealand, it will change things, and it may not happen as fast in our countries as it is happening in South Africa, because the dynamic is different by the way the countries are set up, and the governmental structures are different. But it's a slippery slope that we could very easily find ourselves sliding down before we know it. And if we don't keep an eye on it and keep it under check, then 20, 30 years down the track, whatever it might be, we might find ourselves on dire straits and end up being in a similar situation to what's happened in Rhodesia in South Africa. Not identical, obviously, but it would be unique to each country. But it is a real and clear and present danger that we face.
Yeah, something that we need to keep in mind is that even in Europe, as we've seen over the last couple of years, it doesn't matter in that case if there's a narrative of, well, white Europeans have been on that continent and it's the home base. There will be stories like we saw out of the UK with Cheddar Man, where they were saying that there's always been people of darker persuasions on the European continent. Whatever narratives I was saying before about narratives, whatever narrative fits the agenda to undermine Westerners and Western civilization, that is what will be used. There'll be all kinds of backflips and justifications. Of course, if we were using the opposition's morality in an even-handed way, then you could say, even if there are complexities about colonization and the fact that there are white populations scattered around these places around the world because of trade and the Dutch East India Company and all kinds of things, the fact of the matter is these people are here now. People like yourself, white Australians, are in Australia now. That wouldn't, if you were trying to have them be consistent under their morality, that wouldn't be justification for undermining a population, for having them, as you were saying, have their birth rates drop and their way of life go away and have all kinds of political and actual violence against them. But that's not the case. As Jason often says, if going north today hurts the white population and going south tomorrow hurts the white population, then the powers that be and the people that run the narratives, they'll go north today and they'll go south tomorrow. You can't look for any kind of an ideological or moral consistency.